Getting jiggy with it. Is this as high as this mic will go for you?
It is, yeah.
Okay. Look at Aaron, he's so serious. Look at. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the future. Happy Friday, you guys. Feeling good. Who's this guy standing next to me? More on that in just a second. What are we going to be talking about today? Just in case you guys are getting totally sick of seeing us, we're going to give you a little bit more until you kind of can't handle it, okay? We're going to do a follow-up episode on the Aaron Draplin podcast. And typically, Stewart and I will sit right after we record something and release it. We'll do a follow-up episode because as he's editing the show, he's got a lot of questions. And I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. So we're streaming this live to Facebook, to Twitch, and to YouTube. So the gang in the other room, we're going to say hi to them in 1 second. They're going to be monitoring your comments and join us in the dialogue. If you've got some questions, maybe there are questions I should have asked that I didn't think of, and let's talk about it today. Stuart, why don't you say hello to the people and tell them what you do?
Hey, my name is Stewart Schuster. I am primarily an editor here at The Future. I edit the podcast. I edit I wouldn't say most of the videos, but
a lot of them.
Probably about 70% of the videos now.
Mm-hmm.
I help shoot. I help
Write, produce. And now you're going to star in a couple of videos yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to have you in front of the camera and not just behind it, working behind the scenes. So that's awesome. Thanks for doing this. And you guys, there's a real reason why you're seeing an increase in frequency in terms of how many episodes we release. It's mostly because of this gentleman next to me. Because Aaron and I would shoot and write and produce, and then we would get stuck editing and we couldn't get enough episodes out for you. So that's why Stewart is here. Let's say hi to the rest of the team. You guys say hello.
What's up, everybody? I'm Aaron.
Strong. And Molly's going to step over your line. Let's do that again, Aaron. Go.
Hi, I'm Aaron. I cut the show. You guys know me. Sorry if last time I was not so talkative. I just wasn't feeling it. You know, sometimes you're not feeling
the
it.
Horse face.
Everyone gave me a hard time.
Continue to give him a hard time. But I just want to give a shout out to you because people were saying you got a little sassy the other episode, and they like that. And I'm encouraging everybody here to speak your mind, speak your opinion. This is going to be a conversation. I don't want to be out here a man on an island by himself. And the fourth member of our broadcast team today.
Hey guys, Molly Drill. I'm here. I'm a designer, and I am reading comments, looking on Facebook.
Looking sharp and mean. This Miss Molly Drill.
Stopping Aaron from getting fired.
That was my joke, by the way. I gave it to her.
She stole your joke, Aaron?
I gave it to
dirty.
her.
Okay, you know what? Enough talk. This is raw, so let's roll the title, man. Sorry. All right, we're back. I think there's some audio issues there. Team, we worked this out, team.
We're good.
We're good.
What issues? What?
I can hear a delay in the broadcast. So let's first of all confirm that we're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, you guys. Let me double check here. Stuart, kind of fill in the space. Give us some context while I go and check the YouTubes, okay?
We're
Okay,
live.
so recently we just released the Aaron Draplin podcast, and I found it really interesting as I was editing it because I feel like Chris has a lot of different ideas than Aaron does, and I was a little surprised about the fact that he didn't engage as much. I was kind of expecting a mano-a-mano one-on-one boxing match, and I didn't quite get that.
Okay.
And so I think that's why we're here today is to hear him speak out a little bit about maybe what he agrees with and doesn't agree with as far as Mr. Draplin's philosophy.
Yeah.
Could we recap maybe real quick what the podcast was about?
Yeah, let's do that. Good idea, Aaron. First of all, Molly, throw up the graphic of the podcast that we just released.
Right here.
There it is. Yeah, that's Mr. Draplin. If you guys go onto iTunes, onto SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher.
I'm going to post the link right now.
You're going to post the link. Awesome. Thanks, Molly. And go check that out if you haven't. You don't do it right now, obviously. Do it after this. And let's do the little recap.
Okay.
What did we talk about during our conversation together? It was a long one, right?
It was a long one.
Yeah.
It's one of the longer ones that you've done. There's a lot of different things that you guys talk about. You guys talk about identity. You talk about authenticity. His sort of catchphrase, making it in the little leagues.
Yes.
That's a big topic of discussion that I think we'll probably have here pretty soon. He talks a lot about honoring mom and dad, which I thought was really cool.
That's a big part of his brand.
Yeah, that is a big part of his brand.
His motivation, his inspiration. Yeah. Okay, so let's kick it off. What's in your magic notebook there that you've...
Okay, well, in my magic blind branded notebook here that I have. So I think identity and authenticity was like one of the biggest things that I was interested in. He has a very like straightforward style. He is who he is. And I guess my question is, you've got 20 plus years in this industry. You've seen everything at this point. How safe is it to be authentic when you're first starting out, when you're trying to build a business? I mean, he basically created his brand around being who he is, but that may not be safe for everybody to do. So what's your opinion on that?
Okay, that's a great way to start this conversation about authenticity. And I think he is so relatable. He's the people's champion because he's so just real. He likes wearing jean jackets and the orange cap, and he's a big man. And he's very self-deprecating, and it keeps him humble and grounded. And he talks about his Midwestern roots, growing up in Detroit, I believe is what he said, and then now kind of living in Portland, kind of a smaller market. He's fully embraced who he is when he brings to the table the fact that he's done logo design jobs for $30,000 and he's done them for a burrito, and he's happy with both. He feels very grateful for the life that he has, and he never takes it for granted. He says, always look up to your clients, never look down on them. And those are wise words. So when we say authenticity, I think everybody aspires to be truly authentic. Nobody's going to tell you to go out and be inauthentic. So I think we had to dig a little deeper. What do you mean when you're saying to be authentic, and is that safe? What are you talking about there? Can you share some or shed some light on that, please?
Well, he's a character.
He is a big character.
If you listen to this podcast, like Aaron Draplin's a character, and he has kind of a straightforward humor, and it's a little it's funny to me, but it may not be funny to everybody else. He's the kind of guy who, he literally tells this story in the podcast. He says, like, clients come to him and he might tell them, like, I'm too busy working on, my buddy's album cover for free to do work for you.
He would say that. That sounds like something he would say.
I'm just not interested in it. You know, and I feel like, I've heard you many times on, podcasts and videos and stuff say, I'm a designer. It's my job to take what you need and make it into reality.
Right.
That's your business philosophy.
Yep.
And he has a business philosophy that's, I wouldn't say completely opposite, but it's far afield from where yours is. Okay. But that's what makes him who he is. Yeah. Like, that's part of his personality. Mm-hmm. So I guess my question is like, you've obviously got a different worldview than him. I do. So how do you think that your worldview and his worldview meet when they're in the same business?
Okay. All right. So I'm going to answer that question, but we got to circle back to the authenticity thing, because I think we're drifting a little bit here. Okay. But that's fine. Let's stay with what you got right now, because I can speak to that. I think all of us have slightly different worldviews, and I think I'm a business person that does creative work. I think he's a creative person who does business. Mm-hmm. And there's a little bit of a difference between the two. And I think the reason why he's so beloved by so many people, he has legions of fans and followers, is because they so relate to his story that one of his lines is, you know what? I'm working indoors in an air-conditioned room. I'm not outside working on the road, and I got to be happy. And I think he helps to tell me that, you know what? Not all of us deserve to live a creative life. And if you do something creative, even if somebody never pays you a dime for it, that's okay. You're still out ahead, that you got to do something fun and cool with your life. So he keeps it like really real, right at the bottom there. So I think, man, wouldn't it be great if creative people were rewarded for their thinking, for their design, their creativity? Wouldn't that be awesome? So I'm looking at it from a slightly different view, that there's a lot of people in our industry who do good work. There's a lot more that still need to level up, but the people who do good work, they're suffering. I feel their pain. So I hear that and I see that, you know what? I've had a pretty successful career myself. I'm not done yet, you guys. This is not the last chapter of my book, if you will. But I want to see if I can share and impart anything that I've done, any quote unquote wisdom, and I say that with tongue in cheek, that can help them charge a little bit more, go from $50 to $100, from $100 to $1,000. And he will admit, even on the podcast, look, it's not about the money, but money does move the world, and I need to get paid fairly for the work that I do.
Yeah.
And he has some very strict boundaries that he will not cross. He doesn't want to pitch for work, and he's very upfront about it. Well, I'm not going to give you my work. He's very enthusiastic about how he presents design. I recently listened to his podcast or his interview with Ian on the Logo Geek, and he was talking about like how he wants to present like 100 logos because he's excited about all of them. So I think he's still speaking from that really raw, genuine enthusiasm for design that maybe I've lost a little bit, because I was like that. I was like that year 1, year 2. I would show 100 logos because I'm like, dude, they're all good, man. They're really, really good. And as I started to mature and become aware that I'm making the decision of a well thought out process somewhat subjective and arbitrary. If I show you 100 options, honestly, in my heart, I'm saying that any of these will do. And in my now worldview, 22 years later, graduating from school, my worldview is now, you know what, if I've done a really good job of listening to you, the client, understanding the brief and figuring out where we need to position your brand, and I understand the voice and tone, that there's only going to be like 1 to maybe 3 options that I think is going to work. So that no matter, it seems to me like if there's a funnel and the funnel goes in like all possible ideas and options, and they should get filtered into something that makes meaning out of that, and out comes only a few things. And if all the input goes in and all the input goes out, as many options go out as they go in, then there is no filter, that you're just creating stuff. And I know a very famous lettering artist, he's passed away, logo designer Doyle Young, the legend Doyle Young, rest in peace. He would do the same thing. He would just draw amazing logo after logo, and then he would lay it in front of his client and said, you guys pick. That's a little bit different than my approach. And I'm not here to say one approach is better than the other, but I'm just trying to make the clear distinction as far as I'm concerned. I think we should present less, think more, and filter our process. And you guys can weigh in anytime you guys want, okay? So we see a lot of comments jumping up and down here. Molly, are you reading all this stuff? Because I can't read the screen while I'm talking to the good people here, okay?
I'm glancing at it, but I was listening to your conversation about authenticity.
Yeah. Are you chewing gum on the podcast?
Because it was so amazing.
You need to go discreetly take care of that, because people will call you out on that in a second. Just ask Mr. Ben Burns. Okay, let's now circle back to authenticity. I think I know what you're talking about, and I'm going to make a guess here, and then you tell me if I'm on the right path or not. I think a lot of creative people are afraid to say who they are and where they are in life because they want to appear to be somebody and something they're not today. And so when you say, is it okay to be authentic, and what are the risks attached to that? Is that a wise path? Let me clarify. If I'm working at home in my parents' garage, how much of that do I want to disclose to the world? So authentically speaking, I'm working in the garage. And if I'm a 21-year-old kid and I haven't went to school, how do I speak to that? So there's this idea that we need to be somebody other than who we are to attract the kind of clients that we want. I'm against that. I want us all to be who we are wholeheartedly, to be fully proud of that. And I'll share an example with you guys, okay? For the first, I want to say like 3 years of running Blind as a company, even though we're doing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in business, I worked essentially out of my house where I live, my domicile. And people in our office were kind of uncomfortable with that. And I said, I don't care. The work I do is good. And if people are going to judge me and say, you know what, we don't want to work with you because you work in your house, then so be it. I will find somebody else. So I come from a place and a mindset of abundance and not scarcity, that I think for everybody that leaves, there's another person or 3 more that want to work with me. So for the first year and a half, we worked out of my loft in downtown Los Angeles in the Brewery Art Colony. And it was a 2,000 square foot space. It's a beautiful loft, but it was a little dingy outside because we're in East LA. And if you didn't know your way around LA, this is kind of stuff you see in the movies, like Boys in the Hood kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And there were homeless people and all kinds of things going on. But once they got into the studio, I tried my best to make them feel comfortable and to speak about the work and be as professional as I can be. So it's one thing if your work sucked and you lived in a crazy place and you didn't really try your best to be professional and put a professional front out, but that's not what I did. Now, even when we got some money, we moved to Venice and we moved into this beautiful modern house, 3-floor house. I made the studio downstairs. So when they came in, they literally walked through an alleyway of homes, dogs barking, that kind of thing. You know, Venice. It's very eclectic, and that's a nice way to say it. And they would come in, and I was doing commercials at that point for Nissan. I was doing commercials for JCPenney or whatever. We were doing big budget jobs, and these art directors, the creative directors would fly in. And again, my producers that time felt a little funny that we're working out of my house. So you know what? Make them feel comfortable. So I bought an old school like bubble refrigerator, like a General Electric one. It was awesome. I put it right in the middle between 2 workstations, and I would stock it with the most amazing beverages. So as soon as they came in, you guys thirsty? Can I get you anything? If you want anything, I'll have my assistant run out and get it for you. And they're like, okay, this is interesting. And I would show them the work. I had professional equipment everywhere, tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and I didn't really care. So I needed my producer, and it was a woman at that time, to be comfortable or she could not stay because her insecurity was going to affect the way she talked to the client, which is not a reflection of who I am as a person. So you guys out there, you guys that are watching this, you're a little insecure, and we talked to one of these people. One of them is Ted Bettridge, and at that time I think he was 13 years old, and he's like, how do I deal with clients? Because I can never meet with them. I can only text or write them, because if they ever hear my voice, if they ever see me, they're going to realize I'm a kid, that maybe I don't deserve this work, that I'm not worthy of it. And I said, you know what? Be 100% who you are. Tell your story. Be on camera. Now, young Ted Bettridge, he's a year and a half older, and he's got his own YouTube channel. He's out there telling his story, and I respect that. So authenticity for me is just being comfortable with who you are, being comfortable in your own skin. If you're from the South or you're working at your garage, call it whatever, garage designs. I don't care. Just embrace who you are. And I think Aaron Draplin is probably the penultimate example of somebody who has embraced who he is, says F you when he believes that, and he's done really well. So if we can look at that as a model, I think we should go for it. All right, I've done a lot of talking. Molly, you want to say something? You got that look like I got something hot. No, okay, that's cool. All right. Go ahead, Aaron.
I got something I thought I'd add.
Okay, go ahead.
I was thinking that the problem of being authentic is more a problem of like storytelling. Because if you're authentic, people might misunderstand your authenticity and judge you for it. So you have to be a really good storyteller and make sure you're authentic, but you're really,
Well, I
saying
disagree.
what
You're being a storyteller, that's not being authentic.
No, but any fact, you have to put a story on it to tell someone. Like the communication, the packaging of the facts. That's where there could be some lost in translation going on. And so that's where you have to be a good storyteller. Especially if you're, if you're a guy like Chris, who's kind of pristine, clean cut, you can just be authentic, and it's pretty easy to look good. But if you're like Draplin, and you're kind of a grungy, kind of bearded, dirty-ish sort of you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, heavier set dude.
It's like it's easy to you just portray yourself as a bum. It's easy to accidentally do that if you're being authentic.
Yeah.
You have to kind of put that spin on it. Even though it's not.
I don't know, Aaron. Yeah, and I think he's super comfortable with being who he is. He would say, here I am. I want to meet with my clients because I don't look like the prototypical designer. I'm not wearing all black, and I don't weigh 90 pounds. He's like, I'm the size of a water buffalo. I'm bearded. I'm ugly. He would say that, right? And that's who he is. And, okay, now we're going to get into story time, you guys. And I want to preface this story first by saying there's a lot of comments coming on the live chat from YouTube. I want to make sure you guys keep it germane to the topic at hand. People are asking for all kinds of questions. You guys, let's stay with Aaron Draplin. Please, hopefully you've listened to the podcast, you've heard a couple things he said before, and if you want some clarity, some insight, if you have a different opinion or you want to echo his thought and his process, that's what I want to hear from you guys, okay? Let's keep it focused on this conversation. Now, Aaron, I'm going to drag you in this. Let's go split screen on this, can we? So they can see your reaction. Yes, you can. Here we go. Aaron and I were talking. This was a while ago. And Aaron, you know what I'm talking about. It's the dating story. Can I drag that in or not?
I mean, you're going to have to give me a little more. Bring it up.
Okay, as soon as I bring it out, it's too late.
I want to hear the story. I'm still waiting for it.
Okay, so here comes the story. Should I do the mystery cello?
Yeah.
Is that good? Can we do that? Is that okay? All right,
yeah.
So here's the story that Aaron's telling me. I'll kill it now. So the story was Aaron comes in. He's like, dude, man, I think I screwed up. I'm like, well, what do you mean you screwed up? I said, I went on this date. She's really hot. I was feeling it. We're at the restaurant. And somehow she asked me, like, where do you live? And I froze and I panicked. And at this time, Aaron was still living at home. I don't think he was making regular money from us at that point, so it's understandable. And I told him, do not spend your money on renting a place just because you're not secure with that just yet. So he said, something came out of my mouth. It wasn't the truth. And I told him my parents' address and where I lived. And she kind of had this look on her face, like in disbelief, like, isn't that a community where like families live? And then he scrambled again, because once you get caught in a lie, you have to dig yourself a deeper hole. And he was really good at digging that hole, you guys. He just climbed in that hole. So he said, yeah, me and a couple of college buddies, we rent the house, like they're ballers, right? And then so somehow they wind up back at his place, and he's like says bye at the curb, like in case his parents open the door, and it's like, Aaron, welcome home. Who's that girl? And so he said, oh, dude, I totally messed up. What am I gonna do? I said, well, let's look at this situation. Let's rewind that. Okay, let's take it back. Let's take it back to the beginning. If he's sitting there in the restaurant talking to that girl, and she asked, Aaron, let's do this. Let's reenact this part. Okay, you ready?
Split screen.
Yeah, if we reenact this, and I said, like, I'll be you, Aaron, and I have all the anxiety, and we've all been there. We've all wanted to be something. This is like a romantic comedy script right here, right? We were on the wrong side of the tracks. We're black and they're white, or we're Asian and they're Hispanic. Something is off. My family hates your family. It's something like that, and we have to lie a little bit. So I asked Aaron, why did you not tell her the truth? And Aaron, why didn't you tell her the truth?
Because if I told her the truth that I live at my parents', I felt like that would ruin the whole vibe and story of me and how I talk and how I look. And it's like, oh, you just live with your parents, and then I wouldn't get anywhere with this girl.
And what did living with your parents mean? Like,
it means I'm like a little kid.
You're a little kid. You haven't made it yet.
Not a man.
Not a man. What else?
I don't know. All the things that you can extrapolate from someone that lives with their parents, brings you breakfast in the morning.
I want you to articulate that. Like, you can't take care of yourself.
Gives me a hug and a kiss in
Mama's
the morning.
Boy.
Yeah, mama's boy.
Oh, yeah. You still a mama's boy.
Bad.
No, I don't care where you live. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you were worried about all these things and that she was going to judge you poorly, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's roll
No,
play
but
here.
honestly, the main thing I was worried about was that I feel like I have cultivated this persona. Like, when you meet me, you think whatever you think. Oh, he's cool, or he's whatever. But then if you find out I live with my parents, it's like, whoa, that's not all what I would have expected. You're actually a loser. So, like, I don't want that. That's what I was afraid of.
So you see how your story dovetails into the story I told about how we worked out of our studio, and some of my people were uncomfortable with that because they had some other idea, and I was fully whole in who I was, and I embraced it, and I thought that was fine. That was totally fine. So Aaron's thing was, I have this persona, and the persona then suggests that it's not him. It's another character he's playing in life.
Everyone's playing a character, man.
I don't know. I think maybe we are, but how close does that character resemble you is critical. So I think when you met her, you're like, I'm a hipster. I'm making it in the world. I'm shooting video. I'm editing. I'm in entertainment, baby. Maybe that's what you're thinking. And the whole thing crumbles down around you when it becomes you living at home. Your whole story is broken.
Right.
But I don't think that's the case at all. I think personally, you would have won a lot more points if you're true and genuine. And if a woman or a man judges you from where you came from, the language you speak, where you live, and your income status,
they're not for you.
They're not for you.
Not for you.
Like, do a tight shot of Molly when she says that. She do a lot of sass on that. Like, not for you. Nah. Okay, so there's that part. Okay, Aaron. So let's role play a little bit. I'll be you. I'll be you, and you're like this super hot girl, and I'm like, oh God, this date is going so well. And then you asked me
that really, I just want to say that was the part that really like magnified the whole problem, because she was like really hot, and it was like a well lit place, and I had not drinking anything yet. So
I don't know why that even matters. That it's well lit.
It's well lit.
I mean, there's no hiding in the shadows,
There's no dark holes for you to receive into.
Boom.
Oh, it felt like
hot
the
girl
spotlight
right in
was
front
on
of
you.
me, like
super hot girl,
just
like
looking and staring into my eyes, asking me questions, like.
Well, hopefully she's staring at your eyes. Your eyes up here. Eyes up here. Okay. So let's role play. Kick it off, dude. And I'll tell you how I would have reacted. And then men and women, boys and girls, and everybody else in between, you guys listen in and you tell me if you would have judged me in that situation if you were sitting across from the table. Keep in mind, you're a super hot girl in a well-lit environment and nobody's drunk yet, okay? Keep that in mind. Okay, so Aaron, kick it off.
Hold on, I'm just reading a couple of comments.
Okay, go ahead.
Some
You
opinions
gonna torture
here.
people? We're veering off Aaron Draplin quite a bit here, but go ahead.
Hold on, I feel like Molly should play the girl because she's a girl.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh wait, hold on.
But she doesn't know the situation. That's
Yeah,
the
I
problem.
don't.
It's a date, first date. Sushi
I
store.
would say though that we're actually kind of not veering off of Aaron, because I mean the whole point is that Aaron,
Dating advice channel.
This Aaron said, everybody's playing a character, or everybody is what was the word that you used?
Playing a character.
Yeah, I guess so. Everybody's playing
Persona?
a character. Yeah, everybody has a persona.
Persona.
But like Aaron Draplin, like he's not playing a character. Like he just is.
He just
Like
is.
everything about him just is. Like he just is.
Yeah.
Like
wanna-
at all times.
I also want to throw out there that everyone should listen to Brene Brown, The Power of Authenticity.
Oh, Brene
Put that
Brown
link
is
in.
awesome.
Put that link in.
It is so good.
And,
Yeah.
and are you commenting? Because I'm trying to comment and respond to people, but I can't do that at the same time.
And so everyone knows that's Stewart.
Yeah, I already said.
Oh.
I commented.
Okay.
So if you guys are joining this episode late and you're wondering who the fine-looking gentleman to my right is, to your left, but to my right, his name is Stewart Schuster, and he's our editor. He's employee number 2. Peace. All right. So let's get back into this. Aaron, you got to do this. I want to play this
Okay,
with
fine.
you.
I'll be the girl. Go.
And then Molly, you pretend to judge me in whatever way you want to judge another person, okay?
Okay.
All right. So we good? And is our door closed over there?
Oh.
Come
It's
on.
open.
You guys are just dropping protocol left and right. I can hear John Roth talking from in here. That's the loud man.
And
Come
he's
on.
he's actually at his desk, which is like
Look how
He's so loud,
100
dude.
feet away.
Yeah.
He's so loud.
He's so loud. Come on, guys. Protocol. All right, here we go. But so far, no technical glitches, so I'm thrilled to be having this conversation with you guys. Are you ready, Molly? Let's role play. Let's do this. The people are waiting. They want me to teach them how to get a loan from a bank, etc. Dating advice.
Let's do
whatever.
it. Let's
Let's
go.
do this. I'm ready. Okay, so Aaron, ask the question. Kick it off.
Hey, how's it going?
No, we're not there. Just get to the where you live part.
Oh.
Yeah.
How did that come up?
Come on, dude. Access the memory bank, sir. Open that file with QuickTime.
I feel like before she even asked me, I could sense that the question was coming.
You know
like,
why? Because you were afraid that the question was coming.
I was afraid it was
You're on
coming.
edge.
I was
Please
already
don't ask
thinking.
me.
Yeah.
Please don't ask
Manifested
me.
it.
You know,
And
if
I
she's
could
religious,
see-
you're like, please don't ask me. I'm Hindu or whatever it is.
I
you
could
know?
see in her eyes. She's like, "What's going on? Why is he so squirrely? Like, what's?"
Yeah, 'cause
I
you're
could
trying to
see
hide
that.
something.
Yeah, she could see it.
Yeah, so you're all squirrely to begin with. So
Yeah.
let's get into it, man.
Okay.
Okay, here, I'm going to give us the gong. Let's
So
go.
where do you live?
Where do I live? Like in the city, or where do I live with, what do you mean?
Like, where do you live?
I live at this address, and I live with my parents. Now, before you judge me too sharply, I just want to let you know. I used to study finance, and I decided that wasn't right for me. My soul wasn't stirred by doing finance. So I decided a year and a half ago that I wanted to pursue my passion, which is photography and cinematography. And luck would have it, I started working at this company, and now I'm shooting and editing video. And, I'm not where I need to be yet, but I'm doing all that I can to earn as much as I can to buy gear and equipment so that I can advance and level up. So I live at home for that reason.
Okay. That's cool. I like that you're.
It's really bright in here.
And scene.
Dude, that would not work, bro.
Well,
that
yes,
was like.
that would totally
Freeze,
work.
hold on. Aaron, freeze. Don't tell me it won't work, bro. Now, Molly, you can judge it. Go ahead.
I think that would totally work.
Wouldn't that win you over,
Yes,
Molly?
would
because
you
you're
rea-
being
Go ahead.
you're being authentic. Like you're being serious. You're just being you.
Okay, internets, the ones that are listening to this, you guys tell me. I see mic drop and boom, and let's see what else people are saying. For the real world, yo.
You're not.
Just say I live at
this
home.
is
What
it.
about
like,
you?
You're not saying it. when
Yeah,
you
that's what I was thinking I should have said.
What?
I live at home. Where do you live?
and you're saying that with confidence. If you're like, and you
Yeah,
okay,
that's
okay.
how I got. That's the vibe I got from you. It's like, whoa, this is a big deal to you. Like, you live at home. Well, okay, like you don't have to tell me
Okay.
the last
Let me do
story.
that again. We talk about this a lot. One of the things that I learned from Blair Enns, and he said this very succinctly, which is say what you think. If you're uncomfortable about telling somebody that you live at home, say I'm uncomfortable telling you this, and let me tell you why. Okay?
Yeah.
But if you give them a one-word answer, I live at home, what about you? It's like, okay, now she's going to start to judge you. Just say, you know what? For half a second there, I thought about telling you something that's not true, and I don't even want to start this relationship that way. It's because I'm a little insecure by the fact that I live at home. And let me tell you why. I want a story. And I've told you guys before, if you want to be more valuable in a date, to a company, to a brand, tell your story. Tell it. Don't be afraid of it.
But okay, see, I feel like this is proving my thesis that I've set up at the beginning, that being authentic is about how you say the truth.
What's that?
Like, if you're saying I should tell this whole story, but another way of being authentic is just saying, yeah, I live at home. Like, they're both authentic, but one of them
about delivery.
It's the delivery.
Well,
that's
this
so
is all
important.
about. This is the art of communication, man. One says, I'm going to, hopefully, endear you to my life, my story, what I'm trying to do in a really quick, succinct way. I'm not talking about rambling on for an hour and a half. I'm just saying quickly get into why you're doing what you're doing. And then you can flip it at the end. How about you?
Like, I feel like in what you said, you made the whole living at home thing. You made it about, like, I'm trying to do bigger things. This is sacrifice I'm making.
That's correct.
So you made it about sacrifice and about achieving goals.
Correct.
Versus, like, what I would have said is, like, yeah, I live at home. Like, that's super authentic. There's no story there. It's just,
there's no story.
That's the fact. So, but it's very different what
that's
you did.
That's not super authentic, to be
what
honest.
You said is authentic.
No,
well, I
hold
said
on.
also authentic.
No, it's not. And I'll tell you why. To be authentic means I'm going to wholly embrace who I am, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, where I came from. And when you say I'm living at home, you stop the rest of the story. And you're insecure about it.
Yeah.
And you're working your way up in life. That is telling the rest of the story. Okay, if Aaron Draplin comes on stage and he's like, I'm big and fat, yeah, I know it, and he just moves on, there's nothing left there. But you know what he did? He's like, I love sports. I tried out for basketball, and there's me, and he's a chubby kid, and he just like can't even do anything. And then the audience like, yeah, that's pretty funny. He's telling you his struggles with being a big fat dude.
And it's vulnerable. That's
it's
the
vulnerable.
Other thing.
That's
like
right.
You need to be. So if you're just like, yeah, I live at home. What about you? Like that's just kind of closed off, and you're not. If you're opening yourself up, and you're being like, this is why I'm living at home, and I'm feeling a little like about it.
Okay, let me give you another example.
That would be more authentic because I am feeling something.
If
I weren't feeling anything about it, I would have just said,
yeah.
Then that would be authentic.
Then that would be authentic. You're right. Just like I would have said, okay, let's rewind the situation. Let's bring it into the professional context because this is not 1-800-datingadvice.com.
Okay.
That's not what we are.
Okay.
Although that could be another site, but
And
we'll
Chris,
get into
everyone's saying they want to date you.
that. Oh, thanks, guys. You guys are so sweet. And there's mostly guys on the
Yeah,
site.
I know,
It's like
it's a lot of
scary. Don't stalk me at the pool, you guys. Don't do that. Okay, let's get back into it though. At the house, when I was working in Venice, when we had the house in Venice, 3-story house, imagine somebody came in. I did not feel one bit insecure about being in the house at all. I didn't have like a dirty sock or underwear laying on the couch or anything like that because I made sure, the place looked tip top. It was clean and supreme. That's what it was. Now, imagine if somebody came up to me and said, is this your house, Chris? I'm like, yeah, you want to go upstairs and check it out? We have a great kitchen. If you want us to cook you something, yeah, I got a big screen TV upstairs. You guys want to play some Xbox together? Let's do that. Because that's how I felt at that time. And that would have been authentic. Okay? All right, so let's put the authenticity thing to bed. The comments are going bananas right now. People are laughing, whatever. I wish I could read this simultaneously. Blind date. Oh, you guys are funny. The future husband. No, okay, never mind.
That's going to be a new episode series.
I'm going to give Aaron my
Blind
rose.
dates.
Okay, here we go. All right, let's get into the next bit. Are we cool with authenticity?
Yeah.
And if there's some fear about that, I think it's because we're just being afraid of being judged for who we are. And the whole idea is you got to get used to wearing the suit that you were born with to be comfortable in your own skin. It's something that I've struggled with, so I can totally identify with this. Because without getting too deep and emotional here, I'll do the piano uplifting song in a second here. But I grew up in a mostly Caucasian neighborhood when we were the only Asian people. And even in the neighborhood I live in right now, it's predominantly Caucasians. And I struggled with this for a long time. Not because I wanted to be like a weirdo, because people made a point to point it out to me that you're from another place, go back to your country, you don't speak our language. And we're seeing a lot of that resonate in the messages that are going on today with the protests, with the anti-protests, and what's going on politically. Now, this is not a political show, so I don't want to go there, but I can definitely feel that pain. And people made me aware of it. Somebody would just come up to me from behind and try to punch me in the head just because I was different. So this is something I've had to overcome. And I got to tell you guys, get a little deep here, that I've struggled with like my own identity crisis, where I wanted to be white. And I hated my culture, I hated my language, and I hated my own people. And I went through this whole arc, like I looked at it like I just want to be normal, and normal meant being white, Caucasian, with blonde hair or brown hair with green eyes or whatever it is. I just wanted to be that person because there was a lot of self-hate there. And I remember watching some of those TV talk shows back in the day, maybe it was Oprah or Phil Donahue, how they brought on black people or Asian people who just looked down on their own race. And I was like, that's horrible, but I feel some of that inside. So if anything, you guys, I've gone through that pain and I've come out the other side of it just to know that I am who I am. If you don't like me because I'm 5'8" and bald and Asian American, so be it. If you don't like that I have ears pierced and wear funky glasses and dress a certain way, so be it. God bless you. You go on your own way. I'm going to leave you alone. Just please leave me alone. Okay? That's it. All right, let's move on to the next topic.
Okay.
We need an applause there.
No, that was just cheating along. Thank you, Molly. Thank you.
So one of the big things that Aaron talks about is, Aaron Draplin.
Yeah.
Let me be specific.
Thank you.
One of the things that Draplin talks about is making it in the little leagues. That's like kind of his like big deal. And that's, you can tell that he's like very proud of that.
Yes, he is.
And, you know, I think that from a personal standpoint, I think that there's a lot that I, you know, connect with there. But from hearing a lot of your talks and a lot of your podcasts and a lot of things like that, it feels like that's something that you would not particularly agree with. And that's the kind of thing that I was kind of hoping to hear a little sparring about, but like it didn't really happen. Okay. And I get the fact that, like, you know, he's on your podcast, you want to allow him to talk, but basically, like, I just want to hear what your reaction to his little leagues philosophy is.
Okay.
Could we interject? What is his little league philosophy?
Okay, he's got a thing. He opens up his TED Talks and many of his speeches with, I'm a guy doing everything I can to live a creative life and make it in the little leagues. I'm a big man trying to make it in the little leagues. That's his phrase, like a catchphrase, he says, okay? So, you know, he plays with the word big and little. He's a big man trying to make it in the little leagues because he's in a smaller market in Portland, okay? He grew up in Detroit, I believe. So that's what he's talking about. So let's first clarify two things. When I invite somebody on my podcast or my show, unless they know ahead of time, I'm not going to argue with them. This is not my place. I'm not there yet. This is not the debate show. And I'm not going to invite a guy on that I disagree with and just tear them apart. And people have called me before on YouTube, you're a bully, you're a bully. I am not a bully. If anything, I've had to deal with bullies all my life. I'm not. People who come on our show where you see us argue, it was set up to be a debate.
It's a discussion.
And I come prepared. That's the problem, okay? I come prepared. So when I got Mark Posh on the show, he's like, I'm very passionate about this thing. I don't agree with a lot of what you're saying. I prepared. I had notes, I had quotes, I read books. I'm ready to go. And Mark was like struggling through it, and it looked like I was destroying a guy, but we both came into it. We're still friends. We were friends before. We're friends now. We just disagree, and we like to have robust debate and dialogue with one another. And that was not the case. If I invite somebody on my show, I'm not going to sit there and I think you're stupid, this is crazy, I don't agree. So the sparks that you wanted, the sparks that you see, have to be agreed to ahead of time, because I don't want to pick a fight with somebody who's not ready. That is a bully, and that's like the same thing that happened to me as a kid, where somebody would try to punch me in the head. Okay.
But hold on, what about the authenticity, man? Like, is it not, if you want to just say something and you don't say it, that's not being authentic, right?
You know, now you're like muddying the waters. And somebody said you've been eliminated, Aaron, by the way. You remember that show, Eliminate?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Eliminate.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's talk about this. Aaron, would you like to come over to my house and have some coffee and barbecue? You come over like, you stupid, I don't disagree with you. You pull over, that's being authentic. Then you're like, what a jerk off. Why do you invite me to his house? He wasn't very hospitable. Damn, dude, that's not the same thing, Aaron. I'm talking about when I'm by myself and what I want to say. Like right now, I'm being as authentic as I can be, because there is no, what is that called, precursor or any kind of setup to it being anything else except for me talking to the camera straight to you guys, telling you guys what I think. That's all that is, okay? So I'm not going to invite you into my house and then tear you apart. Also, I would appreciate if you didn't come to my house and tell me how to rearrange my furniture, right? I don't need interior decorating advice when I invite you over for a drink, okay? That's not about being authentic. It's about being a good host. And I would hope that the same would be true. Invite me to a conference and then try and tear me apart. I'm not coming back. I'm not.
When you say tear me apart or tear someone apart,
yeah,
does that mean you just ask questions that, what does that mean when you're talking to someone? Like,
well, you know, like if somebody says, I really like red balloons, and you're like, why do you like red balloons? And they're like digging into it, you know they're picking a fight with you. Like, get off my jock, all right? I thought you wanted just to hang out and talk like two bros. It does become a problem. Okay, so let me address that. So that's super clear for you guys, all right? There's a lot of different things going on, so little dynamics. So I'm just telling you my philosophy. At some point, we'll become like maybe like Howard Stern, where everybody comes on knows what they're getting into, and they're going to get torn apart. But we're not at that place, and maybe that's not where I want to go anyways. I want to just see what other people have to offer, and I'll tell you why.
I just want to interject
Go ahead, please.
real quick.
Yeah.
I didn't want you to tear them apart by any means, but I was interested to hear a little bit more discussion of like, you know, the differences of your philosophies, I guess.
Right. And you know what? Here's the second criticism. Number two, second criticism. First criticism, why are you such a bully? Number two, why do you have people on your show and do all the talking? So the last thing is like, hey, come on my show. Let me ask you 2 questions. Let me tell you what I think all the time. And that's a problem. And let me set up this last thing. This is what you want to do, in my opinion. I invite a person on the show. They have different points of view and different ways of living their life. Totally cool. What I want to do is to see if there's something there that I can learn. And I learned actually a lot by just talking to them and seeing, well, that's a little different. Maybe I should give that a try. Maybe I should try to be more vulnerable. Maybe I should tell a little bit about my story, my relationship with my parents or my past, and to allow people a little bit more into who I am so I'm not such an enigma robot person. And I got a lot from that. And so I started thinking about how I should introduce myself, and I wrote a whole new intro for how, if I were to speak at a conference, how am I going to talk about that now? Instead of talking about the business helping you make money, maybe people just need to know my story first. And he does an excellent job at doing that. He's cultivated and built an impressive personal brand. And if you ask him, he's like, dude, there's no planning. This is just who I am. But I think there's a little bit of like, hey, that's working for me. Let me double down on that. And he's been writing that ever since. And I would just wish nothing but the best for him. Okay, so let's talk about those whole little leagues thing. Mm-hmm. It's like we have to have 10 discussions before we get to the meat, which is good. I hope the audience is enjoying this. You guys let us know if you're enjoying this or not, okay? Autobot could not wake up this morning, so that's where Autobot is. He's supposed to be here, but he's like, oh, I'm too tired, Dad.
Not earning that money.
Not earning the cheddar. We were out late last night going to Art Center grad show, and the little guy was super excited, so he's not on. Okay, let's keep going here. What is the issue about saying that you're in the little leagues or framing it that way? What were you thinking? Set me up with a question. Besides, what do you think?
Like, I mean, I guess like
I was thinking hold on, like, I mean, what Stewart said, what it sounded like to me was that you have your thing, Chris, of the big leagues, right? Big fish. And that you should charge more and get out of doing junky, little, trashy, cheap jobs. And then it sounds like what you were saying, Stewart, that Draplin is the opposite side of the spectrum. He's happy to be doing like the little league, small jobs, and that it sounds like there would be some room for discussion there.
Yeah, I think it was just like, was there anything that you wanted to engage him on in that philosophy that you didn't? Like,
yes, there's tons of questions I wanted to ask him. I wanted to grill into like every dollar he's made and where he's made it, where he's seen success, where he's spoiled his money, where else he's going with the Draplin empire. Why doesn't he want to grow the company beyond him? All these kinds of things. And do you think if you sharpened up some of your business acumen, you would be in a different place? Or maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you've already achieved all your financial goals in your life and you're okay with the rest. And I get the feeling like then I would try to be making him me, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So if Aaron called me up, and he might say, "Hey, Chris, how are you selling a logo for $30,000 or $100,000? How are you doing that, man? I need to know, because earning it for a burrito or doing it for a band that I love, that's cool, but I'd like to make the money too." And don't mistake his all shucks kind of little town charm. He is a very smart businessman too. And if you've listened to the podcast, over half of his income comes from non-client work. That's freaking awesome. I think 25. If I don't remember the numbers exactly, and you just listened to it, right?
Yeah.
I think 25% of it came from field notes. Another 20 or 30% comes from merch. Another 20% comes from speaking. So it's like 10% of it actually comes from client work.
I think it may have actually been more on speaking, but yeah, the point is very little of his income actually comes from client work,
which is going to get people like scratching their head. And he said, I got to deal with little punks coming up to the show or when I speak, like, when do you design? He's like, look, dude, I just designed these 3 logos this morning. Yeah. He still has to prove he's a man of the people. And this is really odd to me. Like, What do we want from our superstars? What do we want from designers that we look up to? We want them to be successful yet still grind it out just like they did at the beginning. Don't we want to see a person who's made it, who can live off the work they've created in the past? They've created a personal brand, and to buy their books and support them that way? Do they need to be grinding it out as if they were 18 years old all their lives? And I feel like the minute he doesn't become that, the audience will turn on him. And that's tragic to me. That is truly tragic.
But that's true about everything.
You're a sellout. Yeah, you're a sellout. You know what? I want to be a sellout. I want to sell out every book, every album, every poster, every kit we make, because I'm a business person. And the people who buy that, and we've talked about this before, think of every dollar bill a person gives you as a thank you note. So people thank you more, they appreciate you more the more they pay you. And that's my worldview on that, okay? Now he's like, you know, hey, it's a hipster cool band. And don't get me wrong, almost every music video that we've ever produced, from Coldplay, Cinematic Orchestra, to the Jeff Buckley track, we've done stuff for Jet, the band, the Australian band, Gnarls Barkley, Justin Timberlake. We've lost money on every single one of those projects. But I do not go around telling people, you know, look at us, guys. Look how authentic we are. Look how salt of the earth we are, because we're doing work and we love artists. We do love artists. We do love working on these things. But that's not the brand I want to put forward. I don't want people calling me up so broke. I mean, when Coldplay can't afford to pay you for a music video, something is rotten in Denmark, as they say. No offense to Denmark people, to the Danish people. All right? Something is really, truly wrong. Like when the world's biggest band can't pay you, that's a problem. So they did pay us, and we did do the work, and we put as much of our own blood, sweat, tears, and money into making the projects too. Okay? But that's not, I don't think that's a model, an image that I want people to like try to do, because you cannot sustain yourself. So somebody has been asking this question about the logo that he does. Aaron Draplin, Jacob Morrison said, you know, Aaron does work for big companies, makes a lot of money, and then he does work for free for bands. And how do I feel about that? Is that a viable business strategy? It is and it isn't. Stefan Sagmeister does similar things where he does work for bands, and part of his deal is he says, okay, this is not really my going rate. I would normally charge my clients a lot more. I do like you. I do like your music. I'd like to get 100 copies of your CDs signed or something like that. Then what he does is he gives these CDs out to clients that he thinks will enjoy the music. So he uses that as a self-promotional tool. Not only did I design the album art, I love this music and I think you'd appreciate it. It's kind of a self-promotional kit. And that's a great vehicle, okay? I just don't like this model where we prey upon the desires of creative people to make stuff and not pay them what they're worth. Period. Let's go. Next.
Okay. One thing that I thought might be really good to talk about is building a personal brand. It's obviously, obvious that Draplin has spent a lot of time building his personal brand and growing that. But I mean, you can't he's gotten to that organically, and there's a lot of people that are trying to sort of rush their way into that.
Yep.
And do you want to talk about what it means, what your advice is maybe on building personal brands from the start when you're when you're graduating school or whatever? What do you feel is the best ways to go about that authentically and not try and pile drive into it, basically? Because I feel like a lot of people want to be him.
Yep.
But there is only one him always. There's only one Chris Doe. So it's what advice would you give to people who are trying to build up who they are?
That's a great question. I've got a lot of different points of view on this. So let's start off. Let's dig into this. My son said to me, and he's 13 years old, I think he was 12 at that time, he's like, Daddy, I just got to be me because everybody else is already taken. So you guys need to realize that you can admire somebody like Aaron Draplin, David Carson, Stefan Sagmeister, whoever your heroes are, you can admire them. And I think, honestly, you can actually try to be just like them. You can follow in their footsteps. If they move to the place, wore this thing, you could do that. But in the act of you copying it, it's going to get filtered through your brain, your taste level, your budget, where you live. And so inevitably, it's just going to become you. And if that resonates with you in a true way, you're not pretending and you're not manufacturing I'm a cool hipster when you don't really believe in that, then it's okay. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you this. If you guys are 13 years old, 12, 17, 77, I don't really care. We're in this age now of the character, the person, the charisma. So you can't just survive anymore, I think, by just being a designer, a creative person. You need to tell your story, and it's no better time to do that than today. There's so many vehicles and platforms for you to do this. First thing you got to do is you got to get over the fact that people are going to criticize you. And what I'm asking for, and what we talked about yesterday with Ash Thorpe, was why is our community so freaking vicious? I mean, the internet is a vicious place, but I was thinking when I went to Art Center, I did not see the people I grew up with, in the sense that I didn't see the jocks, I didn't see the stoners and the metalheads and everybody else. I just saw a lot of creative people. So I never saw a single fight. I never saw like a bunch of people crowding around two guys going at it and just beating each other's brains apart. And I appreciate that creative community, that creative spirit. Yeah, there was a little kind of gossipy things here and there. People didn't like that. People stole something, stole an idea or something, whatever, right? We're in this creative community. Can't we just support each other? If you disagree, try to say you disagree, but say it in a respectful way. And the better way to disagree is go make your own thing. Make your counter poster. Make your counter video to something that I'm saying. If you agree, disagree, and you hate what I'm saying, go produce a video. Channel that energy into something creative and productive versus sitting there and being one of those internet warriors and just spamming people with hate. I don't get it. That's not productive, not constructive. So accept that it's a vicious world and people will tear you apart. So you do need to have thicker skin. You know what? Just try to brush it off you and move on. There are going to be plenty of haters, and I respond to many of them because I like a good fight myself today. So if you can live your life more publicly, if you can document and share your process, you're going to enroll people in your story and who you are, and people eat that stuff up. And that's a great way to rise above everybody else who haven't taken the effort or are not brave enough to do that today. You guys need to think about that, okay? So you can be an okay designer and have a great personal brand and become more known than the world's greatest designer hiding in a cave in Iceland somewhere. So you do need to engage in the public, share your process, because people hire who they know, period. So you could be the world's best kept design secret sauce. Nobody will ever hire you. That becomes a problem. It doesn't become sustainable, okay? Get over yourself, get out there, start posting on Instagram, but make the effort. Make the effort. Here's the additional point I want to make to this. Yeah, but your mic's off. Go ahead.
Your mic is some hard P sounds. Is there anything you can do about it?
I have no plosive filter here, Aaron. You'd have to give me a plosive filter.
Maybe you could just lower it down a little bit.
Okay.
Get it out of the airwaves.
All right, let's try that.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't mean to be plosive, popping all over the place. Perfectly positioned, people.
Yeah.
Are we all? Are we good?
Yeah.
Sounds
All right.
good.
All right. Otherwise, give me a filter. Give me a pop filter after this. All right. So as I was saying, you guys do need to get good. And I hate to say this, but there's so many people who are reaching out, trying to get help. And I was just looking at the work and I'm like, I don't know where to start, man. Like, you got to put in the work. There's all these shortcuts out there. I don't know, man. I just believe in good old-fashioned grinding it out, learning your craft, reading the book, consuming content, and practicing and practicing and practicing. Like my little boy, Otto, he wants to get good really fast. And he's a really fast learner, but he needs to do the work. So guess what he's doing right now? He's going through my typography books. He's going to learn the lessons. I gave him David Carter's typography book, and he's gobbling that stuff up. So lesson number 1, we're going to sit down and talk about typography, and we're going to do that together, okay?
Can I tell?
Go ahead, you guys. I love that you guys are all
too.
talking, so let's do this.
Go ahead, Ma.
Is it easier to follow Aaron Draplin's
Molly,
philosophy?
is it
Sorry,
easy to follow his philosophy?
nowadays than it was before? That's what someone's asking.
I don't really know, and I'm going to get some hate on this. There was a conversation I had with Ben Burns about a year ago when he came here, and we were just talking to each other, and I didn't know who this person was, Aaron Draplin, because let's face it, guys, I'm busy doing my work. In my earlier career, I would have gobbled up every piece of information I could about every celebrity designer that I fell in love with. But today, it's like I don't know who's who and what they're doing. And so I did not become aware of the Aaron Draplin machine up until about a year ago. So I started digging into his work, studying his style, not his style in terms of his design style, but how he presents himself, how he connects with his audience. And so, yeah, I think it's easy to follow him because he's been doing these road tours and he's been speaking for, I think, 5 years. I thought it was much longer than that, but it's been about 5 years. And he will literally pack up his van with merch and drive out from one city to the next, doing back-to-back talks. And he goes out and he tells his story. He's been very consistent about telling his story. Okay?
Okay.
I want to say a couple of things. Go ahead, Stewart. You want to say something?
Well, I was gonna ask if I could tell a story, but if you want to say
No,
something
go
real
ahead.
quick.
Do it. I'm gonna step out so you can tell your story.
One of the you do not have to step out.
Go ahead.
Get in the center.
One of the things that if I can take a second to get personal here, I'm talking to you who is off screen now. One of the things that has really changed in my heart, I've been here for about 6 months now, and the way that I was always taught in school, I have a filmmaking background. I am not a designer. I shoot and I edit stuff and I write stuff and I direct stuff. And one of the things that I was always told as a filmmaker was, you go out there, you make the best possible thing that you can, and then you use that to sell yourself to people. Well, being a filmmaker is very expensive to make the best possible thing that you can. And needless to say, I haven't been able to make very much things in the years that I've been out of school. And while I was not making very much things, other people were getting on YouTube, other people were getting on Twitter, other people were getting on Instagram. And I have some things out there, but it's very little. And while they were getting better and getting more work and more attention, I was sitting there hoping that these little things that I was working on the side somehow might get money to be made. And after 6 months of working here, I've realized that I've taken the complete opposite road of what I should have, and I should have gone out and I should have been telling my story the whole time instead of waiting for the chance to have somebody else come along and give me the money to tell me my story, or to tell my story. So that's all I wanted to say. It's is just that, if you're not getting out there and doing as much as you can to put your work out there and put your story out there, then take it from me, you're wasting your time. Get your stuff out there, get noticed. Melinda is a great example of that.
Yeah.
I think it was either in the 7th or 8th episode, you guys talked about Behance.
Yeah. 8th episode.
Yeah. And how she was not really taking advantage of that. And then once she started taking advantage of it, all of a sudden, people started, things were moving.
Yeah.
So,
and it's surprisingly crazy that the amount of effort that she's put in versus the results she's gotten, that's a winning formula every single time. The amount of time she spent in improving her case studies or her projects and building better comps and blowing it out so it looks much bigger, it hasn't been a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And it's starting to work for her, and she's getting all these leads. So I just want to say thank you to Tony from Lopez Arts. He's like, the haters are just people who are bored and need attention. He says, also, I need a XXL Comic Sans t-shirt because size is not in the store. Tony, I am so sorry. Why don't we meet in the middle? You lose some weight, I'll sell you a XXL. We just don't have XXL, man. We just don't have it. Aaron, your mic's not on. So that was a great story. Thanks for sharing that. And look, Stewart and I, we kind of come from actually very similar backgrounds where we kind of look up to cinematic pieces that you see in the big screen, the 90-minute films, and we've fallen in love with those things and we want to work on them. And there are too many gatekeepers to let you in because it's few opportunities and too many people trying to rush in. So we're waiting for somebody to anoint us as you're the next Ridley Scott, you're the next whoever it is that you are.
Yeah.
And you can wait all your life for that moment. Or you can
I've
leverage.
Already waited too much of my life for it.
Or you can leverage all the tools and the democratization of technology and the platforms that are available to you and just make little things that add up to big things. And this is it. And we talked about this yesterday. I wish I got my rant game on better yesterday, but we live in this fast food, fast culture, fast fashion society. Everybody wants fast results. And it's the little things that add up. And if you haven't already read the book, I would highly recommend you guys read Darren Hardy's book called The Compound Effect, that doing a little bit of work towards your goal every single day has exponential results, okay? So let's get back into it. Jonathan Kent, it says it's Draplin and not Droplin. I'm sorry. I know, what do I have on that? Yeah, my bad. Okay, what else we got here? Shout out for the $10. Yep. I think I'm a little late. Okay, you got any other questions, man? Or should we wrap this up?
I do have one thing one other thing that I thought might be good for people, and there's a quote that Draplin says where he says, where his accountant says to him, "You're going for the gold, but bronze might be enough." And I think it might be good to talk about, like, you know, obviously everybody needs to go for the gold, but how do you figure out what your bronze is?
Okay, that's interesting. You know what? This is what I thought too, and I share that view with you. We should all go for the highest, the best, the most, the gold, the first place, the platinum. That's what we should go for. But I got a little bit different message from Draplin. He's like, you know what? Sometimes it's okay just to be in the sport. And you should just be grateful that you got 2 legs, 2 arms, and you're breathing, and parents that love you, or friends and family that care about you. And that's a pretty good starting place in life. I think also in this kind of success-driven culture that we have, that we want more money, we want bigger clients and bigger brands and bigger projects, that it's maybe killing us a little bit, in the sense that now if we win bronze, we're depressed.
Yeah.
I think the first place is to be present to who you are, to acknowledge you're alive and you're above ground, not 6 feet under, to wake up with gratitude in your heart and optimism for the day, and go out about your day doing the things that you love, the things that make you happy, and just appreciate every moment. And I would redefine that if you're growing and you're changing and you're learning, you've hit gold every single day. That's how I would respond to that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, there's a lot of questions in here about how do I get work from India. All my Indian friends, we've answered this 1,000 times, and we're not going to answer it today.
Yeah, there's other questions.
Go ahead, fire away. What's a good question, Molly? You know the question's right in front of your face, isn't it?
No, they're in front of this.
Okay.
Anyways, none of them are really related to what you're talking about right now, so I don't know if I should bring that up.
Okay. No, I mean, we're going to wrap this episode up in this half second here. I do want to tell you guys this. I've been talking about typography for some time, and I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to sit on something that has to be perfect before we release it, because you guys are chomping at a bit, because I think the secret sauce to design is typography. Learn how to master, control, manipulate, and use typography to your advantage. You will control design, and the world will be different from that point forward. So I've got this idea. Okay, Molly's been helping me design the book with Jamie's help as well. And it's going to take some time because we're not writers. We have to research and we have to put things together. So we're going to be releasing a couple of videos on certain typefaces that we love, part of the, I think, 22 typefaces that we love. We're going to give you a little history, context, and animation. And we've got another team member that I'm going to introduce probably next week. Her name's Erica, and she's animating for us. So she's going to be bringing these things to life. Where am I going with this? As part of our live stream content, I've got a new strategy, and I want to run it by you guys right now that are tuning in. I'm going to teach a series of typography courses, like an 1.5 hour episodes. We're going to live stream it. I'm going to have lectures. I'm going to do live design demos with you guys to try and teach you typography. The idea I have is this. What if we let everybody watch it for free? That during the live stream, you guys can watch it for free. But after the live stream, I'm going to take it down. I'm going to ask you guys if you want to watch it, if you want to keep it, if you want to rewatch it, that you guys pay me $5 for it. We've been building these kits that are $500, that are packages of $1,000 to talk to me. I realize it's too much for a lot of you guys to afford. So I'm really sincere in my desire to change and disrupt education. So I've been thinking about it. If 20,000 or 5,000 people watch our videos and they all give us $5, that's $25,000. That's a lot of money for us to keep building the dream. And it'll encourage me to keep putting out more content. You know, because at some point here, I can't just be doing this stuff for free. And people love the fact that all this stuff is for free. And I remind them 98% of it is free, but there's 2% that we hold back. And that maybe it's only benefiting a few people who are of means. And there's a lot more people in the world that could use this information.
You're getting a lot of...
Do you want to do this?
Loving it.
They're loving it? Okay, yeah. So we'll do the live stream for free, so you have to tune in. I'd love to engage with you. You guys can design along with me, and maybe I even give you guys some homework assignments. But I think I'm going to go heads down, start writing, producing content, and teach you guys how to design. This is the fundamentals that I've been talking about. This is the part of learning the principles and mastering your craft. And I think if I do a decent job, and I've done this before, if I do a decent job with you guys, you will see your design skills skyrocket. Okay, the secret to life, to design, is through typography, and I think that's it for me. Are we good to go and start wrapping up the show?
Yeah, everyone's
Okay,
welcome.
guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're going to wrap this up because we want to keep it contained. If you guys enjoy this kind of hybrid podcasting that we're doing with my buddy here, Stewart, let us know, man. Share this video, comment, get this thing seen, because I'm a very metrics, analytical driven guy. When I see the views go up, when I see engagement go up, when I see you guys going bananas, my screen to the left is going bananas right now, I'm encouraged to do more of something. When something gets 30,000 views in a week for us, that's a lot. I will do more of that. So perhaps the way we do this is we release the podcast and we do these conversations that same week. So listen to the podcast and join us for the conversation live. Okay? Let us know what you guys think. Let's take us out of here. I'm going to say to you guys this: you are not defined by your past. The future is what you make it. Goodbye. Peace.